Hello and welcome to the UEA Award Introductory Training Workshop. We have primarily made this workshop available due to the fact that we are remote working at the moment and that we aren't able to see you face to face for a workshop. So understandably, this may mean that you end up with some questions that you would like to ask by the end of this. I would like to make it clear from the very beginning that we are available at the end of our email address, so award@uea.ac.uk, should you have any questions about this training. So first of all, thank you for joining the award, for registering. Congratulations on taking your first step. The session today then will cover the following, and I will be whisking through it at a reasonable speed, but as I say, if you do have any questions, once you log on to your workflow, and I'll explain how to do that during this session, have a good look through. If there's anything that you're not sure about, please do not hesitate to email us and we can organise a face-to-face collaborate or Skype chat if that's something that you'd like to do as well. So we're going to go through the benefits of the UEA Award. Why should you progress through the award? We're going to look at the attributes that we talk about and focus on as part of the award. We're going to look at the different submission forms, so to do with the categories, the 4 different categories. I'm going to introduce you to what we call the Carframe framework, which is how we structure all of our submissions on the award. I'm going to talk you through making your first submission. We're going to look at your reflective text that you submit versus the CV section at the bottom of the forms, and I will explain that in a little while. And then you will have time then after that to have a go at making your first submission. And as I said, if you do have any questions, then please do email us. We are very happy to help. Okay, so what is the UEA Award? Now, I'm assuming that you've got a good idea about this, seeing as you have registered. But just to put it into context and to give a brief summary as to what the UEA Award is all about, it is a framework to help you to record and log all of your activities and experiences. As human beings, we're very good at taking part in lots of experiences, getting a lot out of them, but not actually giving ourselves time to reflect on how we developed during those activities, the strengths that perhaps we've built by taking part in those, and any attributes that we're yet to develop. And this really is a skill that we can use to make ourselves more employable. It's also a way to build connections. We ask for employer feedback throughout the award, and when things are back to normal, as Career Central does organise employer engagement workshops and events and things like that as well. So particularly at silver and gold levels, you will receive feedback from employers, and it gives you a way of kind of getting in touch with the world of work and knowing what's expected of you. Okay, so the basics of the award. You may have sat through an introduction to the awards that I may have presented, but I will whisk through these again just to clarify what the 4 categories entail. So there are 4 categories of submissions for the award. The first one is academic. So academic activities include absolutely anything that you have done as part of your studies, as long as there is a module code attached to that. So it could be an essay, a presentation, a project, some lab work, absolutely anything. The way that we would check that you have taken part in this is by going onto eVision and just checking that the module code is listed under your name. We do not check, and this is very important, we do not check the grade or the results that you got for that particular module. That's not in our interest at all. We just want to know that you have completed it. So if you are a first-year student, you can use activities from up to the beginning of your studies at UEA, so it's not quite a year at the moment. And if you're a second-year student or further along, you can actually use activities from the beginning of your studies, so up to 2 years ago. Academic is the only category where the activities have to be activities that you've completed at UEA. Any of the other categories, if you're a first-year student, you can use activities from up to a whole year before, and if you are a second-year student or further along, then you can use activities from up to 2 years before. Just as an aside, if you completed a foundation year at UEA and you are now in your first main year of study, for example, we would count you as a second-year student. So we count you from the time that we would count is from your first day at UEA. Okay. So work-related, moving on, is any paid work on campus or off campus, and any volunteering that you have done off campus. Okay, and again, you can backdate this depending on which year of study you're in. Campus and personal is the broadest of the categories. That includes any activities that don't come under the other categories pretty much. So typically it will be things like student union, society activity, any other clubs that you're a part of. It could be any online learning, if people write blogs or make vlogs, any websites that you may be creating. Online learning includes things like Rosetta Stone, which is free to UEA students, Digital Voyager that the UEA Library organises that you can enrol on. FutureLearn is another example of free online learning, and there's vast amounts of different topics on there, so you might want to have a look at that. So yes, pretty much anything, as long as you can talk about attributes that you've developed while you were doing it. It also includes volunteering on campus. So if you, for example, an SU buddy, pal, an ambassador that isn't paid, anything like that. I think most ambassador work is paid now. So if you're an ambassador, that would come under work related. But anything like that counts towards campus and personal too. And then lastly, career management. Any careers fairs that you've attended, any one-to-one appointments with our careers advisors, any career management workshops that Career Central organise and run, so how-to workshops, anything like that counts towards career management. If you have attended an event on campus that has been organised by Career Central, then those events will automatically count towards your award without you writing anything. If you have attended something off campus, like a careers fair, or you have seen an independent careers advisor, for example, then you will need to make a separate submission for that. So hopefully that's an overview of the categories. And as I said before, if you're not sure whether an activity that you would like to submit fits under a certain category, please do email myself or Tom at award@uea.ac.uk and we'll clarify that for you. Okay, this is the most important element of the award, I would say. The reason that these skills awards were developed in the first place is because employers were showing frustration that graduates were leaving university, having taken part in a lot of activities, having accrued a lot of very valuable experience, but they weren't particularly good at articulating this in a way that employers value and understand. So employers were asked, what is it you're looking for? Okay, it's very well to moan about what graduates aren't articulating to you, but what exactly is it that you would like them to be able to talk about? And these were the 8 attributes that they said they are looking for in prospective employees. Some of them are very generic and very obvious, so things like problem solving, communication, but what they're looking for is for you to be specific and give specific examples. So within communication, if you completed a presentation, for example, rather than just saying, I learned how to become an effective communicator, be specific about it. I learned how to present articulately, how to present to different audiences. I learned to work in small groups and to be tactful and diplomatic while I was doing that, which would also come under teamwork. Okay, and when you go onto your award workflow and you open up one of the forms, the submission forms that I'll talk to you about later, the attributes are there, and actually if you tick on one of these main attributes, you then get a list of what we call sub-attributes, so that you can be a little bit more specific about how you feel you've developed that attribute. Career management, employers are looking for evidence that you have actually looked into prospective careers, that you've done research, that you've seen a careers advisor. Commercial awareness is very important as well. Employers have said that many students come to them with fantastic first-class honours degrees, for example, or very decent grades in their degree. But actually, they haven't done any research into the wider world of work, and they really want to see graduates who have researched the sector that they're interested in, who know who the main players are company-wise within that sector, who know what the differences are between those main companies, etc. So make sure that you do, kind of use this opportunity to look into that as well. Digital literacy and IT, I'll just say something very quickly about. The latest is that around 90% of all jobs advertised ask for some kind of digital literacy. So it's really important that you work on that and that you're able to demonstrate that you have developed that attribute. So why bother focusing on these attributes? As I've just said, the award attributes have been identified by grad recruiters, but it's not just graduate recruiters who are looking for these. Any research that has been done recently among all employers, whether they take on graduates or not, have pretty much listed the same attributes that they are looking for from prospective employees. Here's a quote from one of our employers who was consulted at the beginning of this award. So they said that graduates who are unable to demonstrate life skills in today's workplace environment are at a distinct disadvantage. So you could be up against somebody with exactly the same grade of degree as you, with the same level of education, etc. But if you can prove that you've gone that step further and can talk about life skills and be able to demonstrate the attributes that you've developed, you will be a step ahead. Graduate employers, as I said, then they need to hear examples of what you've learned and the experiences that you've been through. They want you to stand out. And then practicing using what we call the language of attributes in your CV, in interviews, it will create a positive habit for future applications. So by talking about these attributes and practicing this throughout the award, by the time you come to apply for your job after graduation or before graduation, if you're looking for placement opportunities or part-time work, etc., you will naturally be able to talk about these experiences in a way that employers understand and value. Okay, so we're going to look at the practical elements of your award now. So there are 4 categories, and as such there are 4 types of forms to fill in. There are many, many similarities between all of the forms, and in all 4 forms the focus is on reflecting on what you've done rather than just describing. And I will talk to you in a moment about what we call the Carl framework, which is a really simple way of helping you do that. We're also going to make the booklet available that helps you with the award, with writing your submissions. So that you will be able to access that in the Resource Hub area of My Career Central. So just bear with us on that. That will be available within the next few days. And again, that will help you to work on this step by step. So let's look at the forms one by one. So academic activity submission form, first of all. As with all of those, you need to write about what you did, what you learned from the activity, and any challenges that you overcame. It's always good to mention how you overcame them. As I said before, we will use eVision to check that you've completed that activity. In the academic form, you will see, once you've completed this training, and you can have a click around, that in the academic form, you need to fill in your module code of the activity that you're submitting. There are 2 sections for the hours that you have taken during this activity to complete this activity. The first one, and this is in all of the forms as well, not just academic, the first one says number of hours, and it will say in brackets maximum 10 hours. Okay, so for the Bronze Award, which you will all be starting on, you only need a maximum of 10 hours to submit for academic for your Bronze. So write the 10 hours in there. But for example, you might be submitting a project that took you 30 hours in total. That's where the next box comes in. So it says total number of hours, and then you can put the total in. So if it was a project, for example, that took 30 hours that you're submitting, in the number of hours box, you just put 10 hours because that's the maximum that you need for Bronze. But in the total number of hours, you write 30 hours. Those extra hours then roll over to what we call the wildcard section when you get to your Silver Award. So it just rolls over and recognises that you have actually completed more hours than you're submitting. So we'll use eVision to check you've completed that module. We will approve your submission if we feel that you've reflected enough and you've used the Carl framework that we're going to talk to you about in a moment. When it comes to ticking the attributes you feel you've developed during this activity, please do only tick the ones you feel you have developed in that particular activity. As I said before, there is a list of the attributes. You will tick the attribute, so for example, communication, but then that will open up a drop-down menu of sub-attributes. So under communication, for example, there will be things like presentation skills, writing coherently for a certain audience. Tick the ones that you feel you've genuinely developed during that activity. Don't feel that you've got to tick them all. The CV section is underneath at the bottom of the form, and that is a summary of your main reflection. So we say 4 bullet points is good for that. One for the context and one for the other 3 sections of Carl, and I'll explain that a little bit more later on. The last thing for academic, as I said, you need to have a module code, a course code that we can check on eVision for you. Okay, the work-related and campus and personal forms are identical to each other, pretty much. The forms are nearly identical to the academic ones, apart from we don't need a module code, obviously, but what we do need for this is for you to upload some kind of evidence or provide the contact details of somebody who can act as a referee. It's much better if you can upload some evidence. So it could be anything like a screenshot of an email, a scanned in a photo of a certificate that you've received. It could be a screenshot of a screen saying that you're completing some online learning. Absolutely anything that shows us that you've taken part in that activity is fine. Career management then, this is a nice category, because if you have taken part in a workshop or been to an event that Career Central at UEA have organised, then your attendance will automatically count towards your award. So you won't need to make a submission for that. Any careers event, however, that was attended off campus, you will need to fill in a brief reflection form on that instead. Once you have completed the career management section, and for bronze that is 2 career management events, some of you may log on once you've completed this training and see that you've already completed that section, because any events that you have been to in the past will again have automatically counted. But once you have done that, you then need to complete what we call a career management progress form, which is a reflection on those career management events. Using the Carl framework, like with everything else, which is on the next slide I'm going to go through with you. But a careers advisor actually gives you feedback on that. Okay, we do actually have a separate workshop, a webinar that's available on how to fill in a career management progress form that you may wish to consult when you get to that stage. Okay, so that really was a very brief whisk through those forms. To be honest, my recommendation would be that once you've completed this training and you can get onto your forms, just have a look at one of the forms, go through it, crack on, try and have a go at it. And if you do get stuck at any point, please email us straight away and we'll get back to you. And if we need to organise a face-to-face kind of Skype or Collaborate call to help you with that, we're really, really happy to do that. So I have mentioned the Carl framework rather a lot leading up to this, so finally I get to explain to you what that is. So when you write your submissions, we like you to use, or we ask you to use, the Carl framework, which is a really simple way of structuring your explanations of your activities and articulating them to employers effectively. So the C in Carl stands for context. The first thing that you need to do is to describe the situation or the task. What was it? Where was it? When was it? Who did you do it with? The A of Carl stands for action. So what did you actually do? Results. What happened as a result of your action? And it can be a negative result. It doesn't have to be a positive one. It could be that you were asked to make a presentation and you had to work in a group of 4, that you worked really hard on it together, that you split the task, you went away and worked on it and practiced it. But when it came to actually doing the presentation, you froze, you were nervous, you didn't articulate what you wanted to say very effectively. But that's when you go on to the learning. So what did you actually learn that you can apply in the future? In my example, my fictitious example, it would be that you found out now that you're very nervous when you're presenting to a group of people. So perhaps you want to attend a workshop where you can practice that in a safe environment, or you might want to go online and look on FutureLearn for some presentation skills tips or something like that. Okay, so context, action, results, learning. This is going to be your mantra all the way through the UEA Award. So the next slide, I'm afraid, looks a bit scary because there's a lot of text. It goes against all of the rules of PowerPoint. Now, I'm not asking you to read through the whole thing. I just wanted to show you an outstanding example of a reflection, and I've highlighted some phrases that they have used that made it really, really easy for me and Tom to approve this submission. So at the beginning, they've started with the task was. I know they're about to set the scene and give me the context. So the task was to write a 2,000-word essay, etc., etc. Fantastic. To do this, I had to. I know that from that, they're about to list the actions that they had to take. Okay. Moving down to the next highlighted phrase, as a result, I, da, da, da. Again, I know that they've got onto the R section of Carl straight away. So they've looked at the context, they've explained their actions, they're now about to explain their results. And then further down, this essay taught me about learning. Okay, we've got the learning section here. It enabled me to. I also had to engage with, this developed, lots of really nice key phrases. So to be honest, some people talk about, particularly with academic submissions, activities that they've completed that I really, and Tom, you know, we're not scientists, for example, we're not mathematicians, we find those submissions quite difficult to understand. So if we've got this kind of language that helps us to identify the context, the actions, the results, and the learning, this really helps us. And this will be the same with an employer as well. They're not necessarily going to have the same specialism as you. So it's really important that you learn to articulate your activities and your achievements in this way. So the next slide, I talked about the CV section of every submission, which is at the bottom of every form. That is a condensed version of your main reflection. So this would be an example of a CV section for that previous submission that we just looked at. 4 bullet points, have a context bullet point, an actions one, a results one, and a learning one, if you find that easiest to start with. So I wrote an essay analysing a key theme, lovely context. I researched scholarly works, used Stanley Hall's theoretical framework, etc. Actions. Results, I came to the understanding that the film demonstrates how adolescents conform to da-da-da. And then learning, I developed analytical skills through an understanding of etc. So really nice, clear CV section. And the reason that we ask you to do that is because some award students, when they're compiling a CV, like to go back through their workflows and copy and paste these, and then they can tweak it from there. So it's a really useful way of logging what you've done, ready for your CV. Right, so the practical bit now, over to you to have a look, really. It's the easiest way of doing it. The first thing that you need to do to access your workflow is to log on to My Career Central. There are a few different ways of accessing your award workflow. The easiest way really is to go onto my dashboard and to find it on there, or you can click on My Career Central and you'll see UEA Award under there. One of the other ways actually is to look at the UEA Awards tab on My Resource Hub, and you'll find your workflow there as well. So 3 different ways, we're spoiling you, to access your workflow. Okay, so this is what it looks like once you've clicked on that. If you go to the left-hand side, you will find at the bottom of that list on the left, it will say UEA Award Bronze Level, and you need to click on that for us. Sometimes you might get to this page and it says access your award page, so that's another step. Click on that and then you will find your workflow, okay, and you'll be able to work through the form. So what we would say, because we can't be face-to-face with you at the moment, go through those steps, look through this webinar when you need to. I will give you access to the booklet online that really goes through this with a fine-tooth comb from the Carframe work, making submissions, etc. Have a go at making a submission now, okay? That would be a really, really good start, because we find that once students have made one submission, then they tend to find it easier to make further submissions. And please, please do contact us, award@uea.ac.uk. We also have a UEA Award Facebook group. Please do join that. That would be wonderful to see you on there, and we'll be giving you updates on there. So thank you very much for attending this remote workshop. We hope that it won't be too long before we'll be able to see you guys face to face again. But in the meantime, as I say, please do contact us. Okay, thank you very much.